We ready to roll, cameras?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it right for questions for offensive coordinator Weston Faulkner.
Coach, you've had a couple of years to redo the roster on the offensive side of the ball, build it to what you're looking for offensively. Where do you think you are now as compared to when you started out?
I think one thing we are is we're probably more athletic than we were when we, first got here across the board, from receivers to running backs to even the offensive line. We're not as deep as you would think, kind of the way that college football is shaped up these days, with roster numbers and all the different things that are going on. But, I like where we're at athletically. We are young. We do have a bunch of new guys, really that hadn't played a lot of football for us out there right now. So, we've got, a lot of production, obviously, at the quarterback position, obviously with Jamal, and then Malik's had a lot of production. But really, other than that, when you look across the board from a skill standpoint, there hadn't been a lot of production, right? Or here at Georgia Tech. So, it's kind of the same thing up front. We've had some guys that have played and made some starts, but, across the board, they hadn't been the guy. And so we're just really sorting through that and trying to work through that right now.
Jay.
What's the next step for the progression of this offense?
I think the biggest thing with us, you'd like back 10 years ago, you'd say this is year 3, and you're kind of picking up where you left off, and we're really kind of back to square one with all the new pieces. So the biggest thing with us just offensively when you look at overall is we got to be better fundamentally across the board. We've relied a lot on scheme, and we've got to get back to the basics and being really good, fundamentally at every position. So that's something we're really hammering this spring. Cut down a lot of offense to try to be better at that. So the kids aren't thinking as much, and then also, obviously we got a lot of new guys. The next progression, though, for us offensively is, we've done a good job of running the football the last 2 years. Statistically, I want to see us be more consistent across the board. And, we've had games where it's, 260, and then we're right around 100. I'd rather be at 190 every week. And then I want to see the passing game take off, right? That's got to be the next step. Did a lot of study in this offseason and critical evaluations of us as an offense and also positionally. And then you really look across college football, and, it's not exact, but we basically took the 4 best records in each league, right? And kind of where were they passing in their league. And for the most part, everybody was in the top 6 record-wise in passing. So that's something that you got to be able to throw and catch. It creates explosive plays. We've got those guys on our roster, and that's where we've got to take the next step.
Jackson.
Tight ends are a really important part of your offense, and you're losing a really good one in Jackson Halls, especially when it comes to blocking, along with a couple of other guys. What have you seen from the new guys you brought in, as well as some of the younger guys at that position?
Well, one thing that we've learned, is one thing tight ends do is they create the versatility in the offense, right? Not necessarily getting the ball, but all the different pictures and motions and different things that we like to do. They're a big part of what we do. Last year we got kind of nicked up and got thin at times. So we went out and made sure that we're going to be deep at that spot, right? We want guys that are versatile. Luke Harpring's a guy that's going to be very, very versatile for us, kind of take the place of, an Avery Boyd, but maybe can also do a little bit more inline stuff. But the thing that I've seen out of that group is right now it's strength in numbers. We got a really good group. Brett Seither, he'll get back. Look forward to getting him back this summer. He was a guy that probably would have been a starter last year, right along with Hawes. So, that's a great group, great kids. Nathan's done an unbelievable job of recruiting that position, evaluating it, getting the right guys for the locker room, and we consider that room a lot like the quarterbacks, glue guys, and keep this thing together with not only what we do offensively, but what we want in the locker room.
Reggie, and then David.
Coach, obviously, big deal having both Haynes and Aaron back this season. Very talented quarterback room. Obviously, Haynes the guy, but the way that Aaron played last year makes you feel like he's a dude that can play as well. So how have you kind of balanced that whole deal? Obviously, it seems like Haynes is going to be the starter, of course. So how do you kind of keep Aaron kind of engaged as well?
Well, it's like everything else. Every other position, we always compete. I firmly believe in that. I've been a part of tough decisions in my life at that position, and not always what everybody thought it should be, but what's best for the football team, and we'll always be that way, as long as I'm here. So excited about both of them. They're both tough. They're both competitive. Everything you want in quarterbacks. They possess all the traits, right? Obviously, they got a little bit different skill sets, but that's okay. And, Haynes is coming back. We finished up the season, kind of nicked up, right? And he looks a lot better now, healthy, which is really good. And right before he got hurt, he was playing great. Like I thought right there at the North Carolina game, you were fixing to see the takeoff. And had an unfortunate injury, but he's bounced back. He's a tough kid. Nothing's changed as far as that goes. And then it's always good to have another guy that we feel like can play and start really anywhere. So Aaron's going to have a great career, and when that is, I don't know. They'll determine that. They determine the depth chart. But the other kid is Graham Knowles. Like, everybody wants to talk about the other two, but you get out there and you watch him in routes on air and stuff. You might not go, "Oh, Graham," but every time he's in, he just kind of moves the chain. So, we're still working his development and excited about him, and obviously bringing in another guy. And that position, you got to be deep. We all know that you got to be good at quarterback to win football games at whatever level it is, and it's the most important position in sports. So we're fortunate enough with our room that we really like our room.
Is it a competition or?
Everything's always a competition, right? Obviously, Haynes is the starter, but it's our job to play the best players, right? And that's something I firmly believe in, and the rest of the staff understands that too, and that goes on at every level. So, we're excited about both of them. We're lucky to have them.
Coach, just to double back on Haynes and actually the whole quarterback room, what progression do you want to see at all three of those guys during the spring?
Yeah, starting with with all of them, one thing we want to press the tempo a little bit more, and at least find out if that's something we can do. And I think they've done a great job the first 2 days with a sense of urgency that we're trying to create. The passing game, like I said, that's really with all of them that we've got to take the next step there. And it doesn't just go with the quarterbacks when I say passing game, right? That's O-line protection, tight ends protection, tight ends in the routes, running backs protecting, running backs catching, right? So it's not just quarterbacks when you say that. We're talking all 11. So, but obviously that starts with them. So, with Haynes, that's what it would be, just continue to get better in the pass game. He completed a bunch of balls last year at a high percentage. We got to get to where we're getting that ball intermediate and downfield a little bit more with him. And it's really the same thing with the other guys. Obviously Aaron hasn't had as many reps as him, but he's a guy that threw for a bunch of yards in high school, gets leverage, understands spacing, and all those different things. So we're excited about it, okay, and continue to get better really, really everywhere.
The running game is a big part of what you do with your offense. And last year you went through some periods where you had a lot of injuries, with Jamal, the backups. How important is it to have a guy like Trelane back, and you have Powell in there for spring practice, and Hosley? What do they add to the running back room?
Well, I think this is the deepest we've been since we've been here in the running back room. Extremely. Probably the most fired up. Obviously, Norv's done a great job of going out recruiting, again, recruiting the right kind of guys, getting those guys in here. And I think he's one of the best teachers of the running back position in the country, if not the best. And we're lucky to have him. But back to the room, Malachi has shown a lot of promise the last 2 days. Traylon, he's a guy we think that can be a completely different dimension than what we've had. We just got to get him over the hump mentally. And, the other guys, Dalen Gordon, right? No one wants to ever talk about him, but every time he carries the ball for us in practice, he gains yards. So he's a guy that we're excited about. J.P. Powell's a freshman, still learning the offense. He's shown signs all offseason to be extremely explosive. And, again, I think we're really deep there. Anthony Carey played a little bit for us last year. So we're excited about the whole room, and there's a lot of competition going on in there. And I think it's going to be really good for Jamal. Allow him to do some other stuff this spring, get those guys some reps, and using Jamal in a different way, because Jamal is extremely versatile, and so we're always trying to find the most explosive players we can to get on the field, and if it's more two-back this year, it's more two-back.
I would imagine you had some career opportunities this offseason. Why come back to Tech and come back for another year?
And I've said it before, I'm from here, my family's from here. It's a place I think you can win football games, so I'm excited to be here.
Anything else?
You mentioned the running back room being deep. Just your impressions of the wide receiver core that you have.
Yeah, so it goes without saying we lost a good one, but that's part of it. That's where we're at in college football. Isaiah Kenyon was a guy that, he got here a year ago. He was injured. He didn't really go through spring. And then he kind of went through some growing stuff last summer. But as the season went on, you could see it. And credit to Coach McKnight, the development he's had with him. I mean, he brought it up mid-season. He's like, I really think this guy's got a chance to be an elite player. So he said it, probably 6, 7, 8 games in. And you saw him out there on the field a little bit more as the season went on. And the first 2 days, he's looked great. He's a big, strong kid and can run, extremely smart. So we're excited about him. Obviously doesn't have a lot of production yet, so we'll see how it goes when the lights turn on. Zion Taylor's a kid that's been here, and I think is going to end up being a classic example of why you stay. He's a guy that's just gotten better and better, and he's picked up the offense. And look, I tell guys all the time, everybody's goes at a different rate, right? Run your own race. And I got a feeling we're going to look back here in a couple of years and say, that's what you want your program to be. Guys that stay, they redshirt, right? They don't leave at the first chance they get, and they get in here and they compete. And so he's been great all off season. He is an extremely explosive kid. We just got to get him out there and continue to get him reps. And like I said, he's been a lot better. Dean Patterson's a kid we brought in from FIU. He's very intelligent. You can tell that right from the jump. I think he's going to be a great fit for us, be able to do a bunch of different things. Eric Rivers is a guy that we think can really, really run, but he won't go through spring ball, at least won't be able to do anything live. And he's shown flashes. He's another kid that seems to pick it up really, really well. And then obviously you've got the two brothers in there, Malik and Bailey. They don't go anywhere without each other. So, but love those two kids. They're different. Malik's you get the ball in his hands. Obviously, you've seen what he's done the last 2 years, and we want to continue to do that. And Bailey's a guy that can really stretch the field, in the middle of the field and get open. He's a great route runner, and was very productive for us last year when he played. So, you got those guys. Who am I leaving out? There's, we only got 8 out there right now. It's probably the thinnest we've ever been, but it's good. They get a lot of reps. Chris Elko is going to add, position versatility. Within, he can play all 3 of them, extremely smart. DeBron Gatlin's a guy that transferred from South Carolina, from Milton. He knows what it's like to win, and he's still just a freshman, so bringing him along. And Jamari Bryce from Cartersville, obviously they do a great job at a high school program, so he knows what it looks like winning too. He's extremely tough, man. He's fun to be around. He doesn't know where he's going yet, but he goes with bad intentions. So I do like him. And he's a joy to be around. We got a good group there, and we'll just continue to develop them.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate you guys.
See y'all on